Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on Between the Covers. My name is Bradley Shaw, and tonight I'm talking with Lee and Amanda Breeze, who are the combined authors of a fabulous book coming out called Burn the Sky, Part 1. I've forgotten the Part 1 of. Lee,
Hope.
What is it? Hope. I hope I don't forget it again. There you go. So everybody, welcome to say hello to Lee and Amanda. Thanks, guys, for joining me. How are you?
Oh, we're awesome. Thank you.
Wonderful. Now it's finished.
Yes, I'm talking to you now. Yes. So tell everyone watching, tell us what Burn the Sky. What are we going to get out of this great book you've written? Tell us.
All right. Let's see if I can remember this. Okay. Imagine you're 7. Your home, your family, everything that you've ever loved is gone, destroyed by nuclear fire. But somehow you've survived. You're rescued by a stranger and taken to a place where you're adopted by this seemingly nice lady who says to you that she's going to take you to someplace better. But not all is as it seems. So this is the story of Jane Doe, our character, and basically as she grows up and on her adventures and experiences with her guardian Sarah, she starts to learn about what's really happening in the real world, and she starts to question what better actually means. Yeah. So we've also got Hope. Hope is a refugee camp, and so it's being run by a group of survivors who are trying to rebuild society. But while they strive for peace, other people seek control. It's that conflict between these two worlds, it's a conflict that ensues that brings these two worlds together. So Jane and Hope, and their worlds collide. So that's effectively what this story is about. So part 1 is Jane is basically just a child, and we see her grow up. She's a passive observer in the world. Same with Hope. They're finding their feet. But they're discovering what their role will be in saving pretty much the world from itself.
Fantastic. Well,
so that's the premise.
And it's good to see it from a young eye's point of view, because there is that innocence that allows you to embellish, I guess, the narrative of saying, the descriptions and the architecture of the world that it's in, because children see it in such a different way as
that's
well.
Right.
So that was very intriguing to me, how you developed it from a character's point of view as a child, growing up in that world and not knowing the association to what the past was. And that's something that's interesting, that you had to consciously recreate a future from what it is to what it will be or could be. Was that difficult to do? Was it difficult to create a new future, a new dynamic of what we may head towards, or if that sort of event happened?
Well, not really. Burn the Sky is set on another planet in another solar system. And it was easy just to sort of say that the planet doesn't have as much resources because of the generations and the eons that have gone past, where it's effectively been mined to a shell. Yeah. So now the only thing they can do, their level of technologies is sort of at the 1960s level.
Yeah.
And all they can do is just build rockets and get into space. So it's that space race that is the primary technology goal, as opposed to anything else. So
which predominantly is what was happening in the 60s anyway. Here.
Unfortunately, I wasn't there for that.
You've just added a whole lot of elements that, of course, but that's the thing, I think, when you're writing science fiction, which you've crafted so well in the sense of a genre. But what I love is that you've made it real to the experiences of people, not just tried to fluff it with all the, I guess to sound cliche, is Star Wars is very much that element. You can put it in another galaxy, you can put it in another time and give it another language, but the core element is the people. We relate to the human, or the elements of experience, the emotion of what they're doing and how they're living. And I think that's what you've captured in the book, and what was really important about the story is you can put it anywhere if people are real.
Yep.
Well, that's what we wanted.
Yeah.
We wanted, it's really easy to create a sci-fi world, but what sci-fi narratives tend to lack is that depth, that tends to lack the character development. And one thing we love about stories is multi-layered side of things. So having deep characters, having colorful world building, these are all elements that seem to be quite rare in sci-fi, and we wanted to bridge that gap, because we wanted to make sure that when people read our story, that they feel like they're right there with the characters. So they're not just seeing the world through Jane's eyes, that they're standing right beside her and they're experiencing things as she experiences them. So that makes it more immersive.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And that's interesting too, like, because this is your first collaborative novel, and I know there's more series to come, but this first step into this world, was it difficult to understand the art? Was it difficult to understand the creation of what you wanted to achieve? You could see it in your head, but what were the challenges of writing such a story for you as a starting point?
Well, okay, so
you're gonna pull that out, are you?
Bradley would remember this.
we came down and saw you about this tiny manuscript, 34,000 words.
True burn the sky.
the short story. Yes.
Yes. It was a novella, and and we put you through that pain. We're sorry about that.
Hey, look, if you plant a seed, and I just wanted to keep watering it and give you guys the goal, because you did a great job. And so from that learning, from that understanding, did you find it difficult to take that on and to evolve as writers? What was your experience?
The story itself was already there.
Yeah, that's right.
As you read, or what you could read anyway, the story was already there. It was learning how to write. What we came down and saw you with those 34,000 words was not written very well, and I can understand why we had that conversation.
It wasn't for you saying these things, it wouldn't have given us the motivation to improve.
Right. Yep.
And that's
it's
one of the
funny
reasons
you say that, because I was worried I was actually going to destroy your motivation. I was worried I was being too critical, but I was being honest, and I could see that you cared a lot about this story. Like, it was important to you. And I don't generally, a lot of authors will come to me, as I said to you, with their stories already done, and I've just got to clean them up, polish them. Yours was in such a raw incubus state that I knew that I could see the premise in it, that I knew that you could evolve this in such a way. But I asked you the question, were you willing to do it? And what you showed and what you gave to yourself and to me was that discipline. And it's taken us how long? How long do you tell our viewers, how long have we worked together on your book?
18 months.
18 months.
But you've done most of that work. I did the first 6 months. I know. I went back and forth with you on proofing and proofing, but you did that work. In the last 12 months, I've not been involved. And then you've presented the final edited copy to us, and it's wonderful. What you've absorbed and learnt in that time has been amazing. And I'm very proud of you. And I say that sincerely, because I was hard on you.
Sometimes tough love is needed. Jane learns that.
And we were hard on each other as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad to see your marriage survived. Sometimes in this situation,
are complicated.
All those fight sequences you did, they actually did that in their lounge room. People watching, they actually physically had to act them out.
Yes.
I think it was also part of marriage counselling.
It works perfectly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but
so other than acting, of course, visualization and writing visualization is hard, especially in the fight sequences, because you do have a lot of elements happening. How do you put those together? But you did it really well, and you were conscious of the writing effort, which is good. So for you, what would you find, other than learning, the most enjoyable and productive part of the experience for you when you had that high? Was it the collaboration? Was it the just writing the raw?
Yeah. Finishing a chapter and actually going, yes, we've nailed it. Good. I mean, we have those moments where we'd be screaming at each other, or I'd be screaming at him, because no, it has to be that way. But then we'd work on it, and we work on it and work on it until eventually it came to this point where I think we've done it. It sounds the way it needs to be.
Yeah.
And we'd go, yes. So
and then to pop your bubble, did you feel disappointed if the editing criticism came back a little bit more, less, or what you weren't expecting? And
the funny thing
is, do you think that was part of the learning? Because you did really well at absorbing a lot of criticisms in the sense of learning it, architecturally building the book better. That's what it was about, you know?
Well, the amount of comments that we had back on from the from the editor was not that much.
Well,
because we worked over it so much together and argued and bitted about certain scenes and events and what characters we're going to do. It was that constant bouncing off each other that made the world as it is.
Good.
And so you enjoyed the editing process?
Yeah.
Well, they actually said to us that was probably the most refined manuscript that I've ever had to edit. Probably because it's been refined so many times from this thing, which is now lost its.
You've just torn my page off.
But
what made me interested, I'll tell you a story. Everyone watching, I'm going to share this, if I may, Lee, and it is no discredit to you because you've done a wonderful, wonderful job. But when we started this journey, Lee was very ambitious and very excitable and very, wanting to get this story told. So every week, almost every second day, I was getting these emails of this next edition, next copy, next rewrite. I was getting all this stuff. And then slowly, as I gave him the feedback, he started to stop. He started to think. He started to read it. He started to think, what would I say? And he learned that by self-criticism, self-evaluation, that you're learning the writing gift. And I didn't get emails sometimes for a month, 2 months. It was great. And bringing Amanda into the equation is a brilliant strategy, as I said, because you're writing about a young woman. And I think that personalization in the story is fantastic, that you've created the authenticity of a character. That Lee, although you're the architect of the world and the architect of the design and the story, your characterizations weren't strong enough for Jane. But having Amanda input and working with her has been great. And the two of you as a dynamic are fantastic. So I'm really, really proud of you. So in that sense, what do you envisage is going to be the next event or next occasion for you guys to celebrate? You've already now completed the book. It's coming out. People are going to buy it. I believe it's going to be well received. What is your plan now?
We've got more books to write.
Yes.
And has it given you that confidence? Do you feel more confident now writing?
Yes. I'm getting stuck into the story for the next book, which is part of a trilogy, which is a standalone from Burn the Sky, being 2 books at 180,000 words between the two of them. So quite sizable.
Yeah, so he's gone from 37,000 words, people, to nearly 500,000. So there you go.
So yeah, I'm working on the next book now. I'm 13 chapters in, just working on putting down as much as I can in the way of building the world, building the characters, telling the story as best I can until Amanda comes along and puts her detail into it. And then we'll just bounce backwards and forwards until we're happy with the chapters that have been built. And
you know what's really exciting for me is I don't get to see it until it's actually finished this time. So I'm looking forward to just getting a nice, clean, creative manuscript and sitting down and reading it and enjoying it like everyone else. That's fantastic. I'm so proud of you. So has your other family, your outside family, been supportive of this experience? Do they know what you've been constructing when you're spending all these hours together?
Well, unfortunately, my dad passed away in 2018, so he only really got to see this was only a prologue in a book that I was writing. Literally was 2,000 words. And from a workshop, turn it into the 34,000 words, and now it's 180,000 words. So it's a big step up from just being a prologue. But yeah, unfortunately, my dad didn't get the opportunity of reading any of our more recent works.
But your mother has.
He backed my writing right from the start. And when he passed away, Mum has been right there with us. And she has been our number one fan.
Yes. Good. She's even been our beta reader, if you will. She's helped us write some passages. So those little excerpts from the Book of Progenitors, some of those she's helped us with. So, she's definitely been with us all the way. She's probably one of our biggest contributors.
Good. No, I can tell, and it's good. I love that. I love that you've got that support. And I'm going to ask you a personal question, Lee. You can answer if you wish. Do you think the reason you didn't give up on this book, when sometimes I know you thought about it, is because of your father? Because I know he believed in you and you wanted to do this.
Yes, I think so. I think his living legacy here propelled me to continue.
Yeah.
And I wanted to write something that if he went to his bookshelf and he didn't see the name on the top of the book, that he could just come along, pick the book off the shelf, sit down and start reading it and enjoy it just as much as any of the other authors that he had been reading at the time.
Good. Well, I can tell you straight up, you've hit it out of the park. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, Bradley.
So in that note, when you're writing together, do you write together or do you write separately, come back and read stuff and work it together? How does the dynamic work? Because I'm sure a lot of authors don't generally do it this way.
Well, there's some chapters that Lee can do really well. Like Lee's really good at the sort of the action scenes. He does the fight scenes quite well. I'm good at the sort of the dialogue, the personal interactions between the characters. So there are a few chapters that I wrote and there are a few chapters he wrote, and then we switched, and then we'd edit each other's work, and then we'd come together at the end and we'd have a screaming match, and then we'd have a drink, we'd sit down and we'd work it out, and a chapter would be done. So it wasn't as simple as that. And there was one particular chapter which nearly was the end of us. That's in book 2. But other than that, that's pretty much the process that we followed.
And for you, Amanda, was writing something you thought you'd be doing? I mean, I know that Lee's drag involved you into it, but is it something you thought you would actually experience?
Not really, no. I mean, I've always wanted to write, but I never, I've got a couple of pieces of work that I did when I was 16 that will never see the light of day. Because they're just not, anyway. But no, I never really thought that I'd actually write a book. So if it wasn't for his vision, I wouldn't have had anything to colour in. So I'm the colourer, he's the artist.
Oh, good. And together, that's the strengths. That's what you work on, is your strengths. You do have shortcomings and you help each other understand and balance those out. And I think that's what Lee needed too. I think your support has been amazing for Lee's growth and confidence. So I'm really proud of both of you, to be honest. I'm sorry, I just feel like a big daddy sitting here. but so
just so you know, though, I will have my moment as well, because even though Lee's writing 3 books, I'm also writing 3 books.
Oh my gosh!
So in the same universe, same series, mine will actually be about Jane, so it'll be a continuation of her. So I'll be writing the series about Jane, and Lee will be writing the next series following Burn the Sky. So there are 6 more books to come.
Are you involved in the second book as much, or is it more Lee's book now, and then you're going to evolve into your series?
We'll be doing the same thing.
Still the same thing. Yeah, you're still going to collaborate.
He's mainly going to be the writer for that one, and I'll be the writer for the for the next.
And that's good, because I think if you do keep the collaboration, that's going to keep the enhancement in the books, because the quality of your work together is really important. So I think you should even put a clause in your marriage now and say, look, if anything happens in the future that you can't work together on the same location, you're going to do it from across the world. You can do it via email, but you have to be staying collaborated, because you're very good, both very talented. So in that mindset, now I know this is something you haven't thought of. I know you've wanted to just share the story, but what to you both, or even separately, is literary success? When will you know that you've succeeded as writers?
Good question. I think when we actually get a following.
Yeah.
When people talk to us about it, if we actually have people contacting us on like social media and hearing people talk about our story. It's been in our mind for so long.
Yeah.
That it's odd hearing other people.
It's your world.
About it. Yeah. But that's how it will, I guess.
Are you worried that people won't understand what you've created, won't get what the message is? Do you feel that, how do you feel about negative feedback as much as, positive?
Look, I know there's always going to be the people out there that don't like our writing style for one reason or another, whether they think that certain characters are too shallow or, whatever, for whatever reason. And there are also going to be the trolls out there. They just say, I don't like that book.
Oh, they probably won't even read it.
you get that.
You're entitled to your opinion.
Yeah. I know. We get that all the time.
So, I think there are always going to be the people who give it 1 star.
Mm-hmm.
There are always going to be the people who give it 5 stars.
Yeah.
And there is going to be a bell curve in the middle. So
yeah.
I'd like to think that the bell curve would be more lean towards the likes rather than the dislikes.
I think you'd be okay with that. But as he says, there are a few people who don't generally form positive opinions. That's fine. That's their place. And it's a good balancing act. And I think you need some feedback just to make sure you're always on the right track. So
and that's right. If it wasn't for the feedback that we received, because we've been part of writing groups and we've actually, did an acknowledgement to them at the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
Because we gave a few chapters to them to critique for us and they gave us some valuable feedback. And that's the first time we'd actually ever had anyone read our work. So without feedback, there's no way we can improve.
That's true. That's true. And you've done a great job in always improving. That's the strive. That's what I admire about you is you've harnessed it, you've embraced it, and you've used it. So you remember what I said to you first up, Lee, at the start? Do you remember what I said when we sat down? We were talking about your first book, the 37,000 words you showed me. And I said to you, this is the most dangerous genre that you're entering into because the critique and the fan base is huge and they will either love you or persecute you. And I said to you, are you ready for this journey? I said, because that's what's going to open the door. If you're going to do it, you got to do it right. And that's why I pushed you so hard and I worked with you because you wanted to do this. You wanted to do this.
Yeah.
God willing, you've done it. So your book is coming out. And everybody watching, you have to read this book. It is an exercise in discipline and learning, but it's also a passion. And the story is cultivated and created in such a way that you are immersed in the story and the characters. And they've done an amazing job. So everybody watching, go to your local bookstore, grab this book. And it's called Burn the Sky. Hope. It's part 1. And it is by Lee and Amanda Breeze, available online and in all your local bookstores. So please grab a copy wherever you can go in and demand it. So thank you. And support Australian authors. So one final question. Usually I ask this question to an independent author on their own, but because there's a duo, I'm going to ask you this, maybe you need to answer it separately, but do you have an interesting writing quirk that you do while writing? So Lee, you go first. Tell me, what do you do? Do some authors write with certain music? They sit at certain windows. They might write hanging upside down. What do you do when you're writing?
What sort of writing quirk do I have?
I don't know. You have to write in a cafe?
I like getting out and being in different locations. I mean, primarily, I've got the dining table here that I work off, but I do like getting into different locations every now and then.
Yeah. Can you write in cafes and stuff?
Yeah.
Because I can't do that. I can't do that with a lot of noise and people around me. Do you find cafes? Can you do that thing where the people write in cafe?
Just earbuds.
Earbuds?
Yep. Just a pair of earbuds. Put some only music on, so not song, but just music.
Good.
And then just sit in a cafe or out on a pier that I was out on a couple of weeks back, which was freezing, by the way.
Yeah. Still beautiful, fantastic.
But after that, I went to a cafe and had breakfast there and did some writing. So
good.
Yeah, I don't have anything really weird. Nothing like Douglas Adams sitting there with his Apple IIe sitting there in the nude or anything like that.
Or Ernest Hemingway being half drunk.
Yeah,
in a gutter. That's not cool.
No. So what about you, Amanda? What's your style? What's your
we like picking
work?
up a glass of gin. That's about it.
A gin? A gin's nice. Yes, I agree.
Look, okay, he's a pantser, so he can just sit down and write. I'm a plotter.
Yeah.
So I created a sort of an Excel spreadsheet that pretty much is the entire Burn the Sky storyline.
Oh, right. Good.
We have a OneNote wiki, which has got like all the information, which we have to refer back to. In fact, there's a glossary at the beginning of our book, and there has to be because we actually needed it. But yeah, so I like to sort of plan things out before.
So you create the environment before you start to write. You have to have
right.
those elements. Yeah.
Yes.
Where you're going, you have to have a direction.
Yes, and I find that standing in the shower is where you get the good sort of dialogue.
The shower thoughts.
The shower thoughts.
Yeah.
So I'll come out of the shower and
You've got
I'll
it all written on the window in steam.
So I'll come out and I'll go, Lee, I've had an idea, and he'll go.
That means major rewrite. Well done.
It has.
Yeah.
Or, remember this character we were going to do this thing to? Let's not do that.
Good call. So you've obviously worked out your synchronization, which is great as a couple. For readers, what do you hope they get out of it? What do you really personally want to share to them? What is it that you want them to come back with?
I want them to feel like they've been part of the story along the way. I want them to feel like they know Jane personally. They know all the characters personally, that they feel like they're personally invested in the story, that they've actually been a part of it. It's like a video game. So we love playing video games like Mass Effect, and there's references to these sort of things all throughout the story. Find them if you can. And so what we love about these stories is that they're so deep depth. You feel like you're actually in the world with the characters, and that's what we wanted to do. So that's what we'd like the readers to get out of it, is to feel like they've actually been included.
Yeah.
Good. Awesome. And for you, Lee, anything to add? You agree with that?
Pretty much my answer too.
Good.
I can't think of anything on top of that.
Good. No worries. Well, I hope they send you lots of emails saying, "Where's the second one? We want to keep going."
Well, I was actually talking to a friend today on Facebook who was pretty much asking, "So when's the book coming out?" And because she's such an avid reader, and we want to make sure that the second part of Burn the Sky is
getting ready,
as fulfilling as possible.
Yeah.
Because she reads so much and she loves that sort of genre.
Yeah.
Hi, Christine.
Yes. Hit the subscribe button now.
She goes by Chris. So she's going to be our beta reader for the next book. Good. So
well done. Well, look, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Well done. Look, I'm so proud of you. Well done. Everybody, we're up watching. Grab this book. You won't regret it. It's a great series and a great first book of a series. Burn the Sky, Part 1, Hope, by Lee and Amanda Breeze. Thank you for joining us tonight, guys. Well done. And we've got lots of big things coming up. So stay well, stay safe.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Now.